Welcome back to another podcast. Rowan, thank you so much for joining me, bro. Rowan's one of my good mates that I've known since moving to London. Probably the best way of explaining our relationship, he's the sort of mate that I don't necessarily have to talk to for even 2 or 3 months at a time, and we'll text each other, and before we know it, we're going on another holiday.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining me today, bro.
Thank you so much for having me, bro. Honestly, I'm excited to this.
Yeah, I'm always inspired by your stuff, mate, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. And I wanted to really just have a chat with you today about some of it. You know, you're obviously big in the fashion space now, and also in the fitness space, and you're very consistent with all the things you do. So I'm guessing a bit of a big question, maybe a hard one to answer as well. But first of all, every time you apply yourself to something, you seem to be pretty relentless. What makes you so relentless, mate?
What do you mean by relentless? Like,
you're extremely consistent.
the consistency. I guess in my case, and from my own experience, it's loving what you do. So once you find that wakes you up in the morning, it's just like it's like quite addictive. And then obviously we do have bad and good days. Some days probably I can't be bothered to do this and that, but it's always finding the right balance and completing the tasks by the end of the week, end of the month, and the goals you have set, daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals. So as long as you complete it, you don't have to, if you're too tired today, it's fine. You can just like chill out and then do a proper job the next day instead of doing something in a rush or if you're not focused enough.
Yeah, and I think passion there, what you mentioned, is key. I mean, I can very much relate to that. It doesn't then necessarily feel like work or a job, and it does come addictive. It's a little bit like when we set the Empowerment Project a few years ago. Like, while it is obviously a job, and same with your stuff, it is work. You want to be more consistent with it because you get almost addicted to seeing the progress in terms of what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit about your training first, because that's one thing that obviously you've been pretty relentless in for a while. So first of all, how old were you when you got into training?
I was quite young, so I started my journey with track and field athletics. So I was about 9, and then I carry on doing that until I was about 18 years old, and then I graduated high school, went to uni, and then I kind of stopped athletics because I had about 10 years of running track and field, and I just kind of got bored. Started uni, sports science, and then I realized it's not really for me. I rather, like, in my head, I was like, I rather just like learn a few courses, qualifications, and it's basically the same thing. After I stopped athletics, I got into dancing. I was dancing in theaters for 7 years, and then while I was doing dancing, obviously weight training was a big part of my life as well. So I was really focusing to fitness. Back then, even now, like fitness competition, they like big. And then I kind of I got more passionate towards that. I wanted to be on stage to compete just because I like the look of like really polished physique, like a kind of, I always said, like, I was always training to look like a statue. I wasn't training to be strong or whatever. That wasn't my aim, because like, as you know, there's so many different type of training. There's training to like look good, which is like bodybuilding training. There's training to be like powerful, which you do like all sorts of like powerlifting and stuff like that. So many different types. So I always been focused on that, bodybuilding to look nice, sculpted body. But recently I kind of changed my mindset towards it. Like, obviously I still like that look, but I improvise a lot more of calisthenics training into my routine, which made me realize, like, knowing your own body and working without weights, just with your own body, you can become crazy strong. I learned this with the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, obviously I didn't have many weights at home, so I had to use what I had. And then obviously I started to do more body weight training. And with that, it's not only that I got stronger, I realized some of my past injuries that I have. Like, for example, I had a back problem. Because I wasn't doing much weight training, that problem was actually gone. Literally, I went back into the gym when pandemic stopped and the gyms open again. And I realized, oh, I can do squats again. That's crazy. Like, my back is,
I was about to ask you about, first of all, your calisthenics training. So I've seen you be getting into it. And I was also about to say, it's just interesting when you sort of train in a bit more of a diverse way, that you realize that just by doing like a one-dimensional thing can actually sometimes cause problems. obviously things like bodybuilding are great, and it's probably how I started off my training as well. Mine was purely for aesthetic purposes. I was like, okay, I feel a bit skinny. I want to be bigger.
Yeah.
Let's get into bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just a teenager and sort of winging it like we all were.
Yeah, true.
But you realize over time, it's like, you know, now I'm into like stuff like my running and everything. And when I first got into it, like my knees and stuff were always hurting. And I was just thinking I've got problems with my knees, but come to find out, everything's just stiff and not mobile. And as you start to do sort of more mobility work, you start to realize actually, okay, you know what, the body is functioning properly. There was just one simple way in which I was training that just wasn't really contributing towards the bigger picture.
Of course, I think like you totally got into different sort of training, so your body needs to get used to. I remember watching a documentary on Netflix, which is it's called The Last Dance. It's some series with Michael Jordan. So he was a basketball player all his life, and then he had a break in his years, changing from basketball to actually baseball, and then he had to change completely all his training. So it was like starting from zero. And then he went back to basketball, which he had to switch back again after a few years. So what you just said, it actually makes total sense. Like you started running, your knees start aching and everything. Obviously, it's different sort of training. Like I do remember from my running days when I switched to bodybuilding from running, I was like, oh my God, it's actually so easy. But obviously I wasn't strong. But I was my stamina and endurance. I wasn't getting tired.
You're so fit
because I was so fit, but I wasn't strong at all.
Fit but weak.
So yeah, exactly, so weak. And then when you combine the two in the right way, you're gonna become so powerful. It's insane.
Me and Mika were talking about this last week. We think it's good just to do like almost a bit of hybrid way of training, where like you're aerobically fit, but you're also strong.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people will go one or the other for a little while before they then realize that actually doing both is the right way of going. Like when I was like 15 or 16, I was like, I'm not getting into any cardio. I'm going to lose all my gains.
Yeah.
And now over time when I'm doing both, I feel way better. Just feel good.
It's so good.
Like everything feels a lot better.
You get more like endurance during your training and stuff. Because I was reading the other day about a classic old school bodybuilder. Like he changed his like training routine. He was doing like running 3 times a week and weight training twice a week, but he was going very heavy, super intense, like literally just 1 set per exercise and going to the failure and as heavy as he can. And it's crazy how much the amount of muscle he put in 1 month by doing just that sort of training.
The thing is, recovery will be more effective in between sessions. Obviously, if you're just doing just bodybuilding, over time you get more stiff and the muscle does not have the opportunity to sort of work or stretch as well as it potentially could. So yeah, definitely on board with the whole hybrid training method. So what made you make that initial transition? Obviously, like when you were in your teenage years, you were like into like sort of track and field, and then you were then like, okay, I want to get into bodybuilding now. Was you sort of at a point as well where you wanted like maybe change your physique a little bit?
Yeah, good question. Like, you know what? Track and field, it wasn't my passion anyway. It's a funny story, so I feel like I had to say this story because it's. I mean, I'm telling you the story. You tell me if it's funny or not. I was, like when I was young, like most of the dads, the fathers, they want their son to be a footballer or stuff like that, to do a sport, And then my dad took me to football. And then after 2 weeks, the coach called him and said, I need to have a conversation with you about your son. And my dad was like, what he done? Oh, nothing bad. It's just about his talent. And then my dad came to the football pitch, and then the coach said, look, do you want me to start with the bad news or the good news? And then my dad said, oh, just go with the bad news first. He said, look, your son, he just has no clue with the ball. He's scared of the ball. But the good news is, he's the fastest kid on the pitch and he never gets tired. So I strongly recommend you to take your son to track and field athletics. And then that's when everything started. And then I was doing long distance for the first 6 years. And then after 6 years, I got completely bored. So this is the reason why I'm saying this, because this is the next transition in why I kind of choose weight training. So after 6 years of long distance, I honestly got so bored. I was hating it. I was like, I just find it boring, like just
no more
running
passion.
no more passion. And I say to my coach, I don't think I can do this. Like, I love sports, I love athletics, but I need to find something else because I don't enjoy. He said, well, what do you want? I said, I want to be a sprinter. And he laughed in my face. He said, like, like your physique is not built for a sprinter. You're a long distance runner. So it's not like you can switch like that. And I said to him, but just give me 6 months. And he said, no, I don't think you won't catch my, my top ones in the team. I was like, just give me 6 months. So I have to beg quite a few days, like in a row, weeks, to give me that 6 months to kind of prove him. Like, because, you know, I always say when you kind of stuck with something and you find passion for something else, and then obviously when you're a kid as well and the parents said, oh no, you can't do that. Like you want it even more. Like I want it so bad. And then when he finally gave me the green light, all right, give you 6 months, I was so happy and I was so focused and so concentrate every day. And I was completely changed my training. Like obviously you have to do weights. You see the 100 meters athletes, they're so like powerful. It's all about power. So I changed my training, and funny enough, in 6 months, I got to the point to run the level of his good one. So my time at 100 meters, he got to 10.9. Which is pretty good for a long distance runner to become a sprinter in 6 months. And then when I started sprinting, I could see my body changing. And then I fall in love with weight training. So I was like, oh my God, my physique started to look sick.
So you almost accidentally fell into it in some
respects.
respects.
I never had muscles on me. Like I was always like literally skin and bone. Like I was so skinny. No matter what I eat, how much I eat, I'm always still the same. Especially for an ectomorph genetic, it was like crazy. So then when I changed to sprinting and I get some like crazy lean muscle and it just looks good, I was like, gosh, this is nice. And then some friends were going to the gym. I was like, oh, I'm going to join as well. But then when I joined, I was strong in the legs, but my upper body was literally a mess. And then slowly, you know, with a lot of patience and a lot of, we didn't have much knowledge about training back then, especially in Romania. Like there wasn't like many people around me to learn from. So we were kind of, you know, doing our researches and just see, honestly, like bodybuilding.com was always a big platform for athletes and bodybuilders. So we were getting training ideas from like Arnold or Frank Zane.
But even in the first few years of training, I think passion and grit is more than enough, really, isn't it? Like, you know, if you've not really trained before and you're consistent, you're eating decent food, like your body's going to start to adapt. Now, obviously, over time, it's like if we want to keep seeing progress, I mean, neither of us necessarily want to put on any muscle anymore. Yeah, we just like sort of maintaining where we're at. Yeah. But if we wanted to now, it would really require a fair bit of structure for that to happen.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And then back then with the weight training, I had no clue about nutrition. And then obviously living in my parents' house, they just cook all sorts of different things. So you don't have enough nutrients. And then looking back, the reason why I could be a much more better athlete and to be much stronger if I had the right nutrition. Because I recently watched a documentary on I think it was on Netflix, about the Olympic athletes back in 80s where they were using like illegal substances, but they couldn't find those illegal substances. And it's crazy. There was a specific guy, I forgot his name. He's like in 1 year. So he found this, it wasn't a doctor. He was a guy who had the companies, like he was producing like a lot of like medicine and stuff.
Sure.
And then he produced something for athletes. He's the guy who invented ZMA, actually.
Right.
I forgot his name. So he produced something for athletes that he specifically picked the top athletes, and he said, look, I can make you change and I can make you break the world record. And this is what I done with few athletes by using, but it was crazy. They timetable like before training and now when you go sleep, everything, it was like all stated, what you need to take, when you need to take and everything. And then when they take the test, they won't find anything. But obviously after years, when like humans got more like advanced, they found all this stuff. And then a lot of them, they've been taking the medals off them and stuff like that. It's crazy. I need to find out the name. I'll tell you the name of that. It's quite interesting to watch.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, with then, like, obviously, so you got into the gym, you then were doing that for a few years, you got hooked with that, you then did some bodybuilding. What sort of like made you go into doing like some of the shows? How can you fancy that?
So when I moved to UK, obviously I learned a lot of stuff over here, like about training and about other people and stuff like that. And I always have like people say, oh man, your physique is looking really good. Why don't you try to compete? And I was like, in my head, I was always skinny, right? In my head, I was like, I don't think I have a chance to be on stage with these guys because everyone looks big and I'm like, I'm just lean. And then, you know, I gave it a go 1 year. I just like, cause For me, it wasn't really hard. I didn't have to diet. I was always the same. For me, it's just like eat as much as you can, because I was already doing a lot of cardio by dancing, and then obviously everyday gym at least 5 times a week. Yeah, I gave it a go 1 year. And then my first ever competition, I remember now, it was back in 2012. It's called Miami Pro UK. So this federation, I competed, and then I won my first ever show. And being backstage, looking at everyone, you know, everyone with the tan on, all this, I was like, I don't think I have any chance next to these people, right? Because everyone's looking massive and stuff like that. But one thing that I had, I felt like, you know what, no one can be me, and I feel super confident today. And the reason why I felt super confident, because I practiced my poses. Like, I was obsessed with how you pose. I was watching so many people. I was like doing proper research. I was even put like camera in front of me. This was my like just posing training few months before the contest. I was putting the camera in front of me, and I was posing in front of the camera, but without seeing myself. So I was imagining the crowd is in front of me, and let me do, you know, this pose. And then I look over the video to see what's wrong. And I could see, okay, waist has to be more twisted that side, shoulder that side, so you can see more structure. Like exactly that Arnold Schwarzenegger was like explaining in his movie and in his documentary. You have to go all the way like long with the arms and everything, like show it, like proper show it. Even if you're like a smaller guy, just go for it. And then, you know, doing all this research and then being backstage, and I was like, you know what? I did so much preparation for this. And I'm like, even if I won't win, in my head, I'm already a winner because I did everything like correctly. And then I walk on stage with so much confidence, and then I felt so good that day. And then they will start calling the places number, because they start with the 5, 4, 3. When it got to 2, I was like, nah, it's gone. And then it says first place. It said my name. I was just like surreal, right?
People that like diet for 16 weeks to do this competition, they're probably gonna be well upset here that you didn't really.
I was backstage having pizza, you know. I swear to God, I was carving up. I wanted to like, yeah. And then looking back at the pictures, for all the guys who were like in line with me, some of them they're much bigger than me, but I look bigger on pictures than them because I knew how to pose and I was super lean. And even that I remember oh my gosh, like so skinny. My first show, I think I was 65 kg. Damn. So I was really skinny. And then these guys, they were like 70, 75 kg. So for me being so lean, I still have, I'll send you the pictures so you can like, you know, show them on a podcast. Yeah. For me being so lean, I automatically look bigger than these guys. Yeah.
But I can also imagine that you, when you did do the like, practicing to actually pose properly, this is what I said at the very start when you're relentless. I can imagine you had tunnel vision with that as well, because I know what you're like, bro.
Yeah.
You've asked me to go out before and take photos with you, and oh my God, it would take me about
It takes
an
a lot
hour.
of practicing, you know, because even when I started fashion, you know, I didn't know it's different poses, right?
But you have a very good attention to detail, and like even when I'm out and about, I'll take 30 photos for you, and you'll be like, now we need to go again. And I'll look at these and I'll be like, no, they're fine. You'll be like, no, they're definitely not.
Yeah.
So you always had a very good like attention to detail when doing something. And that comes down to what I said at the start, is like tunnel vision with something when you're
I think it's everything you do in life, like you have to pay attention to details, like, and you're the only one who just like after like, let's say if you have years of experience in that, you already know the small tricks and you know how to stand, where to look, or like stuff like that. And the most important thing is knowing yourself and knowing your best side of yourself. What's your like you think is best side, or like how could you improve your worst side? That's very important as well. Like, okay, don't focus too much on the good side. How could you improve the bad side to look good?
Do you think some of this, like maybe like sort of discipline or dedication, was even for other things, like your obviously photography and your fashion, and even some of the things you're doing now, was maybe built up from like childhood for when you actually like was into track and field and these type of things?
Do you know what? I always love the feeling of competing. Like I remember at some point in my life, I used to be a gamer. So I was playing computer games, and even at that, me and my team were like 5 of us. We got to be battling with the number one team. We were playing this shooter game. We like kind of is very similar like Call of Duty, and we're battling with them. So we got sponsors and everything. And for us, this is why I said to a friend, we were having a conversation with a friend a few days ago actually about gaming, and we said to them like, look, we wasn't just playing. So we wake up in the morning, we have 2 hours or an hour, between an hour and 2 hours of tactics. So we meet up in a room and we just look at other people playing, the top ones in the world. And we're trying to think, okay, that person, he threw the grenade at second 33 there, while the other one was running the other side, so they know it's no one there. So it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of mind playing. So for us, we wasn't just playing online. We meet up and put on a paper, like we make a plan. Because if you want to get somewhere, you have to like, you know, look at every single detail of it. So that's why even when with your question what you put right now, I think everything I did in my life, like I was paying so much attention to details. Like even when I go into hairdressing, I was like, okay, cool, I'm in a salon, I cut hair, but how do I stand out? So I was putting on YouTube how to flip the scissors on your fingers. So I was like, that will draw more attention to the clients. And when they walk in the salon and sees me there, no one does that. There's only one guy. And I'm the youngest one as well.
Thinking outside the box, bro.
You know, yeah, exactly. So everything you do, I think you have to kind of look at each detail and then, you know, create your own self, like the best version of you.
And I always like, I'm a big believer that, like, you know, the fitness can really help you build discipline with other things in your life. You know, you started training when you were 9. I was having this chat with Mika last week, and like he's been training since he was like 9 or 10 as well. The guy's like in his 40s. It's crazy. Yeah. Just so consistent. But like, you know, once you build up that like level of discipline and grit, you know, like some of your training sessions on track and field when you were only like 10 years or 11 years old would have been horrible. They would have been so hard and difficult. But it just builds like a level of like mental discipline that can then tap into other things now. Like for example, when you're getting frustrated and you go out and you take 100 photos for a campaign and you realize they're all crap and you've got to go and do it the next day.
Exactly.
You just make it happen rather than sort of throwing the towel.
It is the same with track and field. Like you have days when your timing is not right. It's just so bad and your coach has to go at you and stuff like that. And it's just a bad day, you know, it's fine. You have to kind of learn, how do I turn this bad day into a good day? So you don't just like get annoyed on yourself. It's fine. It's okay to have bad days. You know, some days you're not as powerful as other days because probably you have a lack of sleep, lack of food or something. It's you know, we all have problems, issues and stuff. So it's just how you react in those circumstances.
Yeah, I always say to clients that struggle with some of these things when they're trying to like form new habits, I'm like, you can't expect to nail this because you're trying to do something different. Yeah, but like, it's a law of averages. If you were doing something like, you know, last month, if you only trained 3 times the entire month, but you're now like training at least 6 times, that's better. You're still missing sessions, but you're doing more than you were before.
Exactly.
It's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So next question, bro. Where did you find your passion for fashion? Because your fashion page is huge. It's probably the biggest now in the industry. It's massive.
Oh, thank you, bro. I do appreciate it.
And your stuff is like, yeah, it's everybody will agree with me. It's pretty bang on. So how did you find your passion for that?
You know, it's funny because I was never like really a fashion guy, to be honest. Like I like to dress nice and look well, but I didn't know how to put clothes together to kind of mix and match them. And then when Instagram started to become more of a thing than it was, so back then it was 2014, 2015, I was still really strong into my fitness. So my page was all about fitness, food. And then my Instagram page, it got to a point where it's just like, I look at my page, I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, obviously you can see he's a fit guy that he just shows like his fitness and stuff like that. But was other pictures like selfies and stuff like that. So I wasn't really taking it seriously because Instagram was still new. And I seen some other pages and I was like, wow, these guys, they got some amazing pages. So that's when I was like, you know what? I want to change my Instagram page, but I don't want to post just fitness. So I want to, because I haven't seen a guy back then on Instagram to be like strong in fitness, but like crazy in fashion at the same time. So it's like, you know, a guy looking good in a suit, but when he takes off the suit, he looks wow on a beach. So that was my idea. The way I started this because like, I was like, you know what? I want to kind of inspire guys, not just how to look good, but how to dress good. Because looking good and dressing good is just like a form of manners, and then you feel good with yourself. It's just looking yourself. It's the biggest investment in this world is yourself. So, you know, I was like, and I was trying to kind of give that mindset to the guys that, you know, look good and feel good at the same time. So what I did, I invested to some like few simple clothes, like the basics, a leather jacket, a coat, you know, a suit that you can wear to so many different occasions. And I used to mix and match them. like everything like just plain, no logos, no nothing. So I wanted to kind of show guys that, you know what, no matter what sort of style you have, you can pull this off because it's quite easy.
Or even budget as well,
It's budget as well. It's quite easy. It's not a lot of colors, you know. It's just like maximum 2 colors on you, like, you know, like max 3, but match them correctly. And then, as you know, as they say, the more you do it, the better you become at it. So I used to be so consistent. Like before my work, I used to wake up in the morning and I shoot the outfit and then edit it and then just put it on a page. And I used to post like 3 or 4 times a day on Instagram back then because I didn't know. I don't know how it works. And it was still early days. There wasn't many people on the platform to do this sort of stuff, especially in fashion. There were like very few guys because I always say this blogging influencing, before they used to call it blogger. It was just a girl's thing. I never see like a guy like kind of posting and, you know, creating this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, like girls can do this, like us guys can do this as well.
Did you sort of see like maybe a bit of a gap in the market at the time and thought, okay, I'm just going to see if there's maybe, I suppose the question would be actually, did you think there'd be an opportunity for this to be your job at some point?
I never thought you could actually make a serious income out of it. So the reason why I have so much drive and consistency towards it, because I was loving the outcome that other people come to me and send me messages. Oh, man, I love this. Can you create this? Can you? And
that's what made you keep creating content.
But so the audience made me even more driven into it because I was seeing my profile growing since I started this. My profile was growing more and more and more and more. And then when I was doing just fitness, it was just like stuck there. Obviously, there were so many other guys, you know, probably if I knew how to twist it around to make it more interesting, I'll have more success because my physique was always on point, but there were plenty of other guys with a great physique. But you need to have that. How can you twist it around to how can you get someone to buy into it?
It's interesting you say that. It's the main reason why I keep pushing the hell out of the program that we've created because it's like you just get so many good messages all the time, like people saying how much you've helped them, how you've changed their health, how you've changed their mental health. So that alone, like, you know, there's plenty of times over the last few years as well where I'm like, oh damn, this is like it's hard. But that's the type of thing that makes you keep going more than anything.
I feel like helping others helps you
massively.
Yeah, massively. So that was in my mind as well. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy because I don't have much clue about fashion, and then these people, they really get help from me. Like I can see they love it, and I can see a lot of them try to dress like me and they tag me, and I was like, oh man, this is amazing. This is great. They're doing something that they haven't done before. So look, mate, I don't have much clue about dressing, but you helped me a lot. Your profile helps me a lot. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then I didn't know you could make money. Like,
when was the first time you actually got paid then?
So right? I received a message from a brand back then in 2015 and then say, hey, we love your profile. We want to send you this stuff. How much do you charge per post? And I'm like, in my head, I was like, hold on a second. You want to send me your clothes? And you want to pay me as well. This is just this is crazy. So, I asked one of my mates. He was doing the same thing in the UK, and he was one of the first ones. He met his girlfriend. They're like even now they're a very powerful couple. They're doing this. They're killing it. And then I asked him, mate, like, what's this all about? And he said, oh yeah, this is how it works, blah blah. So he gave me a little bit of knowledge towards it, and then like I was like, wow, this is crazy. So then when I realized, oh my God, you could actually make an income, a serious income from this, then I got even more crazy towards it, like even more driven. I was already driven, like, towards it. But then when I found that out, I was like, that's just mental.
I think that's an interesting lesson. It's like, you know, people may look at your lifestyle now and think, oh man, that's like, it's you know, it looks great on paper, like the credentials there. But it's like, you followed your passion first, and that sort of just came as a byproduct rather than going, oh, like I'm going to go into this influencer thing just to try and make some money and have some freedom. It was actually the other way around. It's like you just followed your passion and tried to find something you actually enjoyed doing, regardless if you're getting paid or not. Yeah. And over time, it's obviously now you're working with some pretty big brands, right?
I think the most biggest entrepreneurs and people who have like a lot of success in their life is just like starting doing something with passion instead of focusing on the money. Because from my experience, by looking back throughout my journey, everything I've done because I have truly passion. I never thought about how much income can these things give me in a year. I never started like that. I was like, I was like, oh my God, these things wakes me up in the morning and I love it. For me, life is all about joy, all about, obviously money, it's very important because it gives you flexibility to travel, to do whatever you want to do, to buy things for yourself and, just feel
It's
good.
only going to take you so far, though,
Exactly.
right?
But on a long run, you have to do something you enjoy. And then I rather do something I enjoy than doing something that I don't enjoy, and I know it gives me money, but I'm always miserable.
Yeah, bro, I agree. I mean, you're not gonna be nowhere near as relentless if it's just purely for a paycheck. And I can't remember the exact year. You'll probably quote me correctly on it. Maybe like 2018, 2019. But obviously your Instagram started to get some attraction. And I remember you started to form what was like a little bit of a business. And then it suddenly just got hacked, and the whole thing just went down the
that was
pan,
back
right?
in 2016. Actually,
Oh, was it?
That's when I met you, because when he got hacked,
that long ago we met?
Yeah. So when he got hacked, I got a job obviously at Fitness First when I met you.
Yeah, of course.
And then that's the reason why I got the job, because I had literally no income. Like
back to start.
It's funny because I stopped my main job 2 weeks before my Instagram got hacked, and then I was like, this is crazy. It's just everything came at once.
You literally had to start that page off from
Oh
scratch,
my God,
right?
I was waking up every morning and I was like so low, so down. And then after 10 days of having no Instagram, and I was like, look, the reason why I started my whole Instagram is because I truly got a lot of attraction from the world, and they love this. And I didn't start it because of the money. So why I said in my head, I'm going to start all over again, a new account, everything fresh, and I'm going to get a job, obviously, to pay my bills and to survive. So then when I got into PT, I was there with you guys for 6 months. And then while I was there, you saw me in a lunch break or mornings doing content outside the gym, trying to build back.
Saw you, bro. I was there taking photos with you.
Yeah. So, but you know what? Looking back now, I'm so happy that happened, because I wouldn't meet you.
Of course.
So everything happens for a reason. And I wouldn't meet any amazing people that I met at the gym. And then I had the experience how to work because I never worked as a PT. I had the knowledge and stuff like that, but I never actually trained properly, like professionally, a person. So I learned so much, obviously, from you as well, like how to approach clients and how all this. And in those 6 months, I gained a lot of knowledge towards something else. And looking back, I think that was amazing. And besides that, there was a massive hassle to bring my page back. And then I think it was great. So everything I always say to people, don't feel sorry for something you've done. Feel sorry for something you haven't done. And don't feel sorry for something happened. It means to happen. You find a different way out.
Mate, yeah, 100%. When I first left the gym, and I was like, because I was no longer fulfilled at the gym, even if like business was going really well and I was fully booked.
Yeah.
I was no longer fulfilled doing that way of serving clients. I just thought there's a better way of doing this. And I just like left. I literally just gave all my notice to my clients and I left with no real clue of what to do. But I was like, I want to try and figure something out.
Yeah.
And the first few things I did just fell flat on their face for like the first 2 years. And I was just like, oh my God. At the time, it was so stressful. Anxiety levels through the roof. I'm like burning through my savings. And then finally, over time, we've found a better way of coaching people, getting good results. And it's got some really good attraction now, which, I'm grateful for. But, in hindsight, it's like I learned so much from them big mistakes, loads, that's now allowed me to create this program. And at the time I was just thinking like, why the hell's the world against me?
You know what, sometimes you do have to hit a massive wall really hard to kind of get you to the next level. As I say, life is like a harbor. You always go ups and down, but the most important thing, how you react when you're down there, and just not letting yourself go and giving up. Just, it's fine, it's okay, like we're still going. Because it's always ups and down in any business, in any sort of, sports you do or stuff like that. But yeah, just keep going.
So law, it goes back to what I said earlier, law of averages. Like, even when Pavlo was getting into this game a year ago, and I explained to her about the whole, like, okay, don't be too excited when you get a big amount of clients in. Also, don't be so disheartened when they leave. Like, you just need to be neutral.
Of course.
Otherwise, if you celebrate the highs, like the lows are going to feel lower.
Yeah, true.
So sometimes it's like, it's okay to obviously be excited about these things, but just be relatively neutral towards them.
Yeah.
So last question, bro. Obviously, you maintain a great physique now over the last 10, 15 years, 20 years. And obviously with your job, it's very social. You travel a lot, like you're eating out regularly. And look, I know obviously you got good genetics, there's no denying that, but you do still put attention into what you do. Like you eat well, you've always ate well, so do I. And I've got probably more on the favorable side of genetics as well, but even then I still put attention into it. How would you manage to sort of maintain good shape? Like, what does your week look like on average? Like food, nutrition, like what do you do?
Well, I always try to stick on a good diet. When I say a good diet, I'm not saying like crazy strict or like if I want to have a burger, I have a burger. But I make sure like a massive percentage of each day to be like at least 70 to 80% good food. And then the 20%, yeah, you have a chocolate, you have a burger.
So good food, we just mean like single ingredient stuff.
Yeah, like
meats.
you know, morning, I think like breakfast is always very important. Even if you skip breakfast and you go train on an empty stomach, that's fine, absolutely fine. But make sure you get some food after straight away. Like I always focus more on like my morning meals. They're always on point. Like sometimes I eat before gym, sometimes I eat after gym. Depends how I feel that morning. It's always different. But I always try to focus to have like really good nutrients throughout the day and hit the right carbs, the right protein, and the right fats as well. And even on holidays, that if I eat at the restaurants, I make sure that I order like good food from the restaurants, not like the crappy fish and chips or like burgers.
Maybe like a steak or something
exactly,
like that.
Like a steak or like good quality meals. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. I mean, the second thing then is the activity, and I'll get you to elaborate on this, but I can sort of answer this for you as well, I guess, because every time we go on holiday, even if we're out having 4 or 5 beers the night before, the next morning we're normally either doing a run or in the gym or something.
Sweat it out, yeah. We sweat it out because you feel much better straight away.
So I mean, look, it's pretty damn simple, but it's like eat decent food and be as active as possible, and then have a little bit of what you like within reason, right? And I guess that's where most people may struggle to find the balance. It becomes a lifestyle over time. Like some days if food's not good, you just go back to the sort of the decent stuff the following day because it makes you feel good. It's not like you feel like you have to eat nutritious food, I should say. It's more the case of like it actually makes you feel good, so you want to keep doing that. Same as the training. Like if I wake up and I'm on holiday and I've got a bit of a hangover, rather than sit on the beach all day and just feel crap the entire day, I'm like, let's just go for a quick workout, and then you feel so much better.
You see, because you have this attitude and this mentality, and that's why I wanted to point, like, you know, when you meet people and say, oh, I did everything and I'm still not losing weight. I said, I don't think you did everything. Like, you don't have, it's not what you did in those 3 days, it's what you do for the rest of it on average. So, you know, as long as you keep that balance and you're always on a top of your training, on your diet and everything, it's good. Because a lot of people, they don't, it's funny because I was speaking with my sister the other day and she said, oh, I'm not losing weight, blah, blah. I was like, are you still training? Because she joined a gym and I was like, you know, because I don't have time. I was like, yes, you do have time. Like you find 45 minutes in a day to do a workout.
2-3 days a week, yeah. It's even like when we're on the stag do, I was talking about this to Mika yesterday. It's like we all want to do, one of the things we really want to do was go and see that gym in Marbella because it was sick. Yeah. And like even if we all went out the night before and we wasn't in the best condition the next morning.
How good we felt that day, like
so good.
After the gym.
I mean, it was like
and it was hard to start with. I remember it was hard to start with. Like halfway through, we were like kind of waking up, all of us. Yeah. And it was great. We did a great choice to be there.
Yeah, I mean, my advice always in the long term to people is like, try to have a bit more of a longer term look at why you're doing this. It's like the short term is like, okay, look, you want to lose weight or you want to change your physique, that's fine. And I think that's probably the reason why the vast majority of people get started. It was the same for you, it was the same for me, it's the same for most of the people I work with. But over time, it's like, if you value feeling good, like just like almost accept you have to tick them boxes off in order to feel good. There's plenty of days where I can't be bothered to like prepare a decent meal, I prefer just to get something quick, or there's plenty of days where I can't be asked to go to the gym.
Exactly.
But I'm like, you know what? If for me, as I don't really suffer with any mental health stuff minus anxiety, but I'm like, if I don't train, anxiety levels go through the roof. So if I train, I know that never happens. I feel good. It's almost like I've ticked the box off in that basket to contribute towards feeling good.
Same here, bro.
Right, bro. Thank you so much for jumping in and being here today. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, like I just want to say thank you so much. It was a great chat.
Cheers, brother.
And then looking forward for the future podcast with you.
Thank you, bro.
Nice one.